Okay, so we're calling the meeting to order at 6:07. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stacy, could I call the roll of the City Council, please?
Councilman Gary Donovan.
Councilman at large, Gary.
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor.
Under Council at Large.
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky.
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky, First District, present.
Councilman William X. Conlon.
William X. Conlon, Second District, present.
Councilwoman Elizabeth Johnston.
Johnston, 3rd District, present.
Councilman Mitchell Galignano.
Councilman Mitchell Galignano, 4th District, present.
Councilwoman Robin Hamilton.
Councilwoman Robin Hamilton, 5th District.
Councilman Peter Mazzaro.
Councilman Peter Massaro, 6th District, present.
Councilwoman Trenae McGee.
Renee McGee, 7th District, present.
Councilwoman Crystal Finelli.
Councilwoman Crystal Finelli, 8th District, present.
Councilman Robert Bruno.
Robert Bruno, 9th District, present.
Councilman Barry Lee Cohen.
Barry Lee Cohen, 10th District, present.
And Chairman Ronald Quagliani.
Councilman Ron Quagliani, Council at Large.
Okay, so the West Haven City Council, Finance Committee, Council as conduct budget meetings on Mayor Nancy R. Rossi's recommended budget for year 2020-2021 as listed below. Meetings will take place remotely via web conferencing. Departments will receive email instructions on logging into the meeting. Tuesday, April 14th, 2020, deliberating actions with the West Haven Library. Wednesday, April 15th, 2020, 6 p.m. the Police Department and Animal Control. 7 p.m. Allentown Fire Department. 7:30 ERS. Thursday, April 16th, 2020, 6 p.m. is the Board of Education. Tuesday, April 21st, 2020, 6 p.m. Public Works, including engineering, building maintenance, highway park maintenance, and water pollution. Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020, 6 p.m. is planning and development. Thursday, April 23rd, 2020, 6 p.m. the tax office, 6:30 p.m. is the assessor's office, and 7 p.m. is the city clerk. April 28th, 2020 is 6 p.m. is the finance, purchasing, and risk management. So I just want to ask that we all remain muted, and we're going to allow Colleen, who is representing the library, to give her presentation, and when she's conclusion, we'll be able to ask questions. I'm going to ask that you raise your hand and wait to be recognized before you unmute yourself and start talking, so we don't have anyone talking over each other. I'm going to ask that we limit the questions that you ask to 2, to give the council as a whole the opportunity to engage in the conversation with Colleen, and then we will just do a roundtable from there. But in the beginning, I'm going to open it up to the Finance Committee and then the council at large. So even though you have your hand raised, just give me the time to recognize you and know that there's 13 of us total. So I will mute myself, and Colleen, if you muted myself before I finished talking, if you want to start, that would be great.
Okay, first, can everybody hear me okay? Okay. So thank you, everyone. I was hoping that you received a quick PowerPoint presentation. I believe you should have gotten it either today or yesterday. Some documentation, but I'm basically be going off of that. So I first wanted to start with just kind of talking about what we've done since the library closed. We did close to the public as of March 13th. I think obviously with what was going on, it was imperative that we do close, as we do see many people and we are a public entity. So with that, once we did close, we immediately did start ramping up a lot of our digital items. We're doing a lot of circulation with our books, movies, and TV shows. We're doing that through services called Overdrive, which is kind of like an Amazon for books for libraries, as well as Hoopla, which is also another service that has things like music and TV shows, books, graphic novels, etc. for the public. We did also just launch Canopy, which is very similar to that as well. That has a lot of different content. They have a lot of children's content as well, and that's actually all being free right now for the public to use. We are also renewing library cards remotely, giving out temporary digital cards. Right now, they have a temporary expiration date for July 1st. Once we reopen to the public, people then can come in to get their permanent cards. Since we're not open to the public, we are waiving all fines while we are closed. We are right now, our consortia as a whole, we're in a group with about 30 other libraries. We are all waiving our fines until June 1st. We are recommending that people hold their items, but people are still going to put stuff back in the book drop because they do want to get stuff returned. We've been doing a lot of different virtual programs and giving that a shot. We've done a few virtual book clubs. We've been doing some craft programs. There's a lot of instructional videos that we've also put out on how to use our digital content, because a lot of people, this is their first foray into kind of doing a lot of that stuff. Staff have also been going in on a rotating staggered schedule to do a lot of different projects. We've been doing things such as a lot of reading and shifting of materials and content. We're still answering emails and phone calls. And they're also working on putting together a summer read program. It's more than likely not going to look like what we were anticipating doing. We were hoping to do a big kickoff on the green with vendors and hopefully some fundraising, but obviously I don't think we're going to be able to do that. So we're kind of trying to shift to virtual at this point. We are also, all the libraries in the state are kind of talking with each other, and a lot of different directors are kind of talking with the Connecticut Library Association and how we're going to open again. So we are looking at, more than likely that's going to be done in stages, kind of doing things slowly, looking at where our computers are, making sure that we have social distancing in place, seeing about, we need to put up plexiglass or things in front of desks, or staff are going to have to wear masks and things once we do open to the public. As of right now, we're going off of the governor's guidelines, so we'll probably be closed at least through May 20th and kind of go from there. So that's what we're doing right now while we are closed. As far as budget numbers goes, last year our budget was at 1.546, and that was with 28 staff members doing a lot of the work that I'll be outlining a little bit later. Those staffing costs from those numbers are very similar to what we had back in fiscal year 17. We did have some staff changeover and some positions that have changed, or hours had been reduced for positions, which is why that number has been rolled back a little bit. We are currently in contract negotiations. That should hopefully be rectified within the next month or so. So we're in the middle of that still. And also, when you start to look at our staffing levels, and I know I've mentioned this before, that we are by far the leanest when you look at our comparative libraries. Even taking into account that the locations, we do have less staff than our counterpart libraries, such as Hamden, Meriden, Milford, and Stratford. So going from there, if you start looking at continuing going on into the comparisons of operating costs, operating wise, Stratford is probably the most similar to us in that they are also an association library that gets the bulk of their operating money from the city. Their budget is at $3 million, and that also does not include the money that they pay for their health insurance. We are the only library in our comparison group that also is, our budget also includes our medical insurance costs. So like I said, so another library we always compare ourselves to is Milford. A lot of people do like to compare us to Milford, as it is the next town over. They have a similar population size as well. And then the other town would be Hamden. Hamden also has 3 library locations as well. So when you look at all of those, like I said, all of those libraries also do have more staffing. When you look at the pie chart too, that was in the packet, it does show you that our numbers are much leaner than those other counterpart libraries. So when you start to look at budget cuts, the current proposed budget of the 1421 would be a significant cut to us. I do not yet know how that would be taken into account kind of going forward. I will say that right now, 1/3 of our staff are going to be under minimum wage as of July 1st. So for the next 3 years, we will have state mandated increases where the staff will have to get brought up to the minimum wage levels. And our health insurance is expected to go up between 8 and 11% for next year. We are in the Connecticut partnership plan. That has also been a significant savings for the library. We did change over, I guess it was about 4 years ago now. We're still at a lower amount than we would have been if we had stayed with Anthem. Another thing that we also do is we've been getting E-rate funding for the last 3 years once libraries had to start paying for their Ethernet costs. That does come, that's a federal program. West Haven is a distressed municipality, so we do get 80% back for that. So that is a cost savings for us doing that. It was about 2 years ago for the main library in both branches. 3 years ago, we also did utilize the Connecticut Fiber Grant to upgrade all of the internet services going into all 3 library locations. And like I said, that was also through a state grant. Our Friends of the Library have been doing a lot more fundraisers, and they do provide about 80% of the funding costs for most of the library programs that we do, including things like the summer reading program, any kind of festivals that we do. A lot of any of the paid performers we have come in, such as Animal Embassy, it's a group that comes in almost every year. They pay for all of that stuff. We are continuing to collaborate with a lot of different local organizations, and the Board of Ed especially. One program that we started last year that's been very popular is the Reading Buddies, and that is where middle school kids are reading to toddlers. They sign up within their schools to do it, and the librarian goes out to talk to them about we're going to set it up, and they come to the library and they get to read to toddlers. And we've been doing a lot of programs with the VIA and the Adult Education Department. That's with librarians going to them to explain library resources. Then we also do bring them to the library as well to kind of showcase to them the services that we do have. We were lucky in getting out our appeal right before all of this happened. I will say we've actually did much better than we did last year, so that was really nice to see. So we are going to continue to do the annual appeal on a yearly basis. We were also planning on doing another mini golf event like we did last year. That was scheduled for, I believe it was April 4th. We have now pushed it to September, so we are hoping to be able to kind of do that again as well, and looking into what other kind of fundraisers we may be able to do to bring some funding in. And last year, we did also shop around our liability insurance for the library locations, and we were able to find some savings with that as well. So moving on to the library statistics, with the decreasing hours due to our budget cuts, we have seen a slight decline in visits. When you look at the numbers, though, we had a 9% decrease in hour and only a 4% decrease in visits. So we would have surpassed last year's numbers if we didn't have to reduce the hours. Again, when you also look at taking into account decreased hours, we did actually have an increase in materials being checked out from the year before at about 15%. I will also say that our digital checkouts last year were at about 16%. Obviously for next year, I imagine that number is going to be significantly higher since we're not doing physical materials right now. 67% of our total checkouts are books and magazines, and the DVDs kind of account for the remainder. Reference questions, we are up 20% from the previous year. A lot of those questions are people that come in asking questions such as how to help with a resume, or applying for jobs, applying for unemployment, how to fill out the census form, why are they getting the census form. I imagine that too, those numbers are going to go up as well once we do reopen, especially with the unemployment information. Our computer usage has stayed relatively level from the previous year. I will say our Wi-Fi usage is up 70% over the previous year. Over the last 2 years, we've seen a dramatic increase in people coming in with their own devices to basically utilize the space that we may have. It's a similar trend that you do see throughout other libraries. We are continuing to also loan out hotspots. Those are kind of like the little devices for people if they may not have internet access at home. When you look at the last census data, 1 in 4 households in West Haven do not have internet access at home. So this is kind of a vital service, and I kind of see the need for that's going to be increasing dramatically. As far as programming goes, we've seen a modest increase in our programming. In large part, it's due to librarians kind of coming up with programs that can be free or little to no cost. The largest group that saw a number of increase in attendance was our teen group. We're seeing more and more teens coming into the library on a regular basis to utilize our services. As far as capital improvements go, over the last 15 years, we have seen we've used $1.6 million from the capital improvement from our endowment funds for projects such as an HVAC system at the main library that was upgraded. We've also done some painting with that. The largest project was the elevator that was put in at Orr Mason, a handicap accessibility project. That was also in conjunction with a state construction grant that was, I believe that was 2 years ago now. And any kind of computer upgrades or technology upgrades that we do at the library does come out of the capital project. That does not come out of the funding from the city. We are also waiting from the finance department about doing the library assessment. We had the group that had met did pick a company to come in to start doing that, and we are just waiting on that. I strongly believe we can get that started fairly quickly because they can do a lot of the work for that in the background, and I think that's going to really help to decide where the library goes kind of moving forward as well. Like I mentioned previously, a lot of the stuff that we are offering is a lot of our digital content, such as Hoopla, Ancestry, Jobs Now, which is a service that people can kind of put their resumes in and also ask people questions directly about help with looking for jobs. We're doing a lot of reference assistance as well with technology help. I will say some of the librarians now are also doing remote digital help now while we're closed to the public, just to kind of make sure that people are still being engaged with things. We're also still trying to do author talks, craft programs, story times, and cultural programs. Youth Fair Story Time that we do every year is one of the most popular programs. We usually have between 40 to 60 kids that come to that on a regular basis. Meeting room rentals, we do also try to still rent out our spaces as much as that we can. We are also entering the 5th year of the Ready for the Grade program. That is a grant program through the New Alliance Foundation that's working with the Board of Ed to help stop the summer slide in underprivileged kids in grades K through 3. That program is probably going to also look a little bit different this year because there is also a public component and with groups getting together. So we're not quite sure yet how that's going to manifest for the summer, but we are looking to still make sure that we do that program. And like I said, we are doing library card registrations on a regular basis. We're also now working with the schools in order to do library card registration. We're always at the kindergarten registration. They've also been doing some of the kindergarten registrations at the library as well, a few times a year. And I do believe that once everything opens back up, we will still continue with the digital library card signups because I do think it's an easier way for people to get access to the materials. Moving forward, I still would like to see both of the branches open at least half days on Saturdays. I still also believe that having at least one of our branches open on Sundays in October through March, we'd be able to reach a lot more people who maybe can't get to the library, in the middle of the week. I still would also like to look at opening the main library to at least 9 to 8, 4 days a week as well. And to continue to bring in more paid programming that patrons are asking for, such as authors and presenters. We are also looking to increase our materials to meet the best practices expectations for a city the size of West Haven. We don't meet those goals right now. And to bring in more of the digital resources that people are asking for. And that's about what I have in a nutshell.
Put my glasses on, I'm sorry. Does anybody have any questions from the Finance Committee? Councilwoman Hamilton?
Hi, Colleen.
Hello.
You mentioned that Employees are still working. How many employees are there in total?
We have 25 employees right now.
And are all 25 working
Yes.
in all three branches?
They're coming to the main library if they're working at the library, or they are also working from home as well. Our consortia was able to set up a lot of the services that we offer, like our ILS, which is the program we use for looking at patron materials and basically houses all of our materials. So they're able to do a lot of the background in projects from home.
So, and there's enough work for all of them to be working?
Yeah, because we're moving around about 3,000 books right now. So all that stuff all of the information in the system has to all get moved as well before we can kind of move them to those different locations. So people will be able to find that. And there is also people going into the library as well. Like I said, they are doing that on a staggering basis though.
Okay.
So our part-timers were also all dropped down to what they were originally hired for. So we're saving about 30 hours a week as well from part-timer hours.
You're saving how much a week? I'm sorry.
About 30 hours in part-time hours.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else from the Finance Committee? Councilman Bruno?
Yes, hello, everybody. So I got a couple questions. Colleen, your budget, about $1 million of that budget is all based on payroll and
That's correct.
like that. With that being said, you had said that your staff working at below minimum wage. Is that when it gets phased in up to 2023, or is that at this point?
As of July 1st, 2020, we will have people that would be under minimum wage, so their salaries will get raised.
And you were looking for a 2% raise in this budget. Right now, the taxpayers are struggling. So with that, going to get them to minimum wage?
For the part-timers, no, it won't. For the full-timers, the full-time positions that we have, for that we would be looking at, like I said, we're still under contract negotiations, so I'm not sure where that's going to kind of fall, but it would, I'm not sure yet. But like I said, for the part-timers, they're looking at, it's going to need to be at least 50 to 75 cents over the next 3 years that they'll have to go up.
Councilman Bruno?
I got one more, Bridget. Is that okay?
No, I just didn't know if you were still talking because you kind of faded away. So I didn't know if you were having.
Just say it away again. But the only thing I wanted to ask Colleen is the possibility of like recruiting citizens for help. We were to give them, see if we can give them like a tax help you and your staffing if we were to recruit senior citizens.
It would depend. I mean, a lot of what we do is technology based, so I think it also depends on the skill sets that people have for what they're looking to do. We are also a union library, so we do have to recognize that we're not taking work away from employees as well. But I mean, I'm open to anyone who's willing and knows how to do the work that we're doing, that's qualified for positions. I think can be a good idea.
Thank you very much, Colleen. I have nothing else.
You're welcome.
Councilman Cohen?
Thank you. Hi, Colleen. I'm Barry Cohen. Question that I have is, just looking at the budgets, at the end of the day, what the mayor's budget is proposing is about 1.4 million. And you currently are getting about 1.52 thereabouts. And you're requesting about 1.7 and change off the top of my head, just looking at the numbers, okay? And so when I looked at this, it seemed to me that you were basing your budget on offering additional services, like extending your hours at the different branches versus the status quo you have now. Is that correct? I just needed clarification on that.
Yeah, so the numbers that I put in for the budget were increasing the hours at the main library, staying open in the summer, because normally right now we are closing in July and August on Saturdays as well. And that is also adding, the only amount of hours we really add to the branches are half-day Saturdays. I don't think we really need more than that at the branches at this time. It is also taking into account like doing more programming, doing more, making sure we get more materials and that sort of thing as well.
Sure, and that's really what my question is my true question is if you were to just keep what you have now and not grow your services and keep the status quo, I know it's not ideal, keeping the staff relatively in place now with the mandatory increases for minimum wage and not adding those services because right now the economy is pretty tight. And, would you be, instead of being 1.7, would you be more towards the 1.5 or 1.6 if you were to keep this? Can you give us some idea of that from an apples to apples comparison?
So looking at the economic landscape that we're looking at, 30,000 over the 1.521 that we're at right now would be enough to make us be able to stay status quo.
So you're saying that would, and this would be my last question, Madam Chair, just for clarification. So the $30,000 would include any minimum wage increases and would be your existing staff of about 25 full and part-time people.
Correct.
So it'd only be a 30,000 increase. Okay, thank you. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Is anyone, Councilman Massaro?
Good evening, Colleen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I listened to some of the stuff you were saying. I mean, you want to open up the branches during the summer. You want to open them on Saturdays. I see a couple of things here. Taking other libraries in consideration of what you have and what they have.
Right.
I notice your medical benefits are a lot higher in some of the other cities. The only one that might be higher is Meriden. Meriden is bigger than ours. My other question is this. What is going on here? And you told us you have everybody working. You can't make me believe that you needed everybody to work during these crises because all the libraries are not open. You rotated people around if you wanted to keep them working to save some money or furlough them. To tell you how to run the library or anything like that, but you seem that expensive because nobody's taking into consideration to cut some of your expenses down when there's a crisis going on. And you also want to open up the libraries. How about rotating your people around? Rotating your people around so you a lot better to open your services to the taxpayers and to the people that come to your library. I just don't understand your logic as far as the way you're running your library, that you want more money to extend the hours, to open up more days. Well, with the people that you have, I can't understand why you can't just rotate them around. Some people work 3 days a week and take a couple of days off and work on a Saturday or work late at night and stuff like that. I mean, there's ways of cutting better than what you are doing right now. And with the city, the way the city's being run, that we're hurting, and we all know we've been hurting, which I'm up to my neck with the car that's on our back. Want to come over and ask us for more money that we. My other thing about this is, I don't know if you know that it's not as good as it was at the beginning, and you did spend a lot of money on your endowment in the last couple of years too.
Yes.
So here you are saying you want more money, and you also your board to buy a building that's going to be over their head. I just don't. I'm sorry. And if you can explain that to me, okay. But as far as I can see, I can't see the logic.
So what I can talk about as far as the staffing goes, we have 25 staff members across 3 locations. We have, you figure, 5 service desks that anytime that we are open, there must be at least, safety reasons, you need to have at least 2 people at every single one of those desks. We do also have some people that work in the back who don't necessarily deal with the public. We have less and less of that as years have gone on, because we're probably the leanest staff that we've been in, I'm going to say, about 10 years at this point. So we do already do that. We do rotate all of the library assistants, and especially the part-time library assistants, work in all 3 library locations. So they rotate through there. We also do have a lot of the librarians. We're also doing a lot more programming than we did 10 to 15 years ago. That takes staff time. That also takes staff running those programs as well. So you need to then have someone who then again is covering for those desks. We have more reference questions and more people coming in who need help with things such as reference help. They need help with putting together their resumes. They need help. They need to understand how to put an email together. You can't apply to a job at Burger King right now without making sure that you have an email address and access to the internet. So we're helping with people doing that. So we have more and more people coming in who need basic level help, and we need staff in order to kind of be able to do that. Then you still need staff to be able to shelve books. We got rid of pages, which are usually high school assistants that would come in to just shelve probably about 10 years ago because we just couldn't afford to keep them anymore. So our regular staff are then the ones that are kind of putting materials kind of back on the shelves. So we kind of move people around. A lot of people have been cross-trained as well, so they also know how to do other things too. So then that way, if somebody else say calls out sick or they're out for an insane length of time, somebody else can then come in and kind of fill in for that position. So that we're making sure that we are able to have as lean a staff as we possibly can and still function the way we would like to function. As far as the announcement goes, yes, we have.
I think you're not answering Councilman Massaro's question. We understand that you do all of that when the library is open. The library is not open now. So Councilman Massaro, excuse me for if I don't mean to not speak for you, but he's wondering why right now do you have 25 employees fully employed doing a job that they're not at the front desk. They're not helping anybody. So you're saving 30 hours a week. I think Councilman Massaro's trying to understand if your doors are closed, why do you see the volume of 25 employees being paid? And why haven't they been furloughed?
As of right, depending how long things goes on, there's nothing saying that they won't be furloughed at this point. At this point, I can talk for where we are at this point in time right now. We do have staff doing things. Like I said, they're working on shifting projects. Our custodians going in and doing painting. We have, like I said, there's moving things around. We're doing a lot more digital content, so people have to put that together. There's people putting reading advisory lists together to make sure to do that. There are people who are actually running the programs that we are doing online. So they are still doing different things.
Councilman Massaro, do you want to follow up or?
Yeah, one more thing. Say you're going to furlough them downtown.
Two questions. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, Colleen, but the crisis is almost over. It should have been done in the beginning or the second week that this happened. And yes, you're telling me a lot of people working. Listen, there's a lot of people working at let me think, University of New Haven, but they cut the people down. They cut a lot of people down, and it's 3 times bigger than your organization. The city of West Haven cut some people down and furloughed some people during this crisis. I mean, you're talking to somebody that ran a fire department for many years. So, I mean, really, there's ways of working this around where you could have saved yourself some extra money. There's ways of doing it. I ran a department that only had 5 men in the department. So you're telling me you got to run that library that's shut down with 20 some odd people. I don't buy that. I'm sorry. I thank you very much for what you explained to me, and I appreciate it. And that's it for me tonight.
Does anyone else have any questions for Colleen? Everyone's good? Oh.
Thank you, Councilman. Hi, Colleen.
Hello.
So my first question actually is for Frank regarding the library. You can hear me, right, Frank? So I think it would help to know when we think that we're going to get that that efficiency study award out. Is that imminent?
I didn't know that was sitting with finance. I thought Lee had it. So I'll talk with him in the morning.
I think that'll help as we go further, especially next year into 21. That'll help drive our decision making. So the sooner I think we get that out, the better. So listen, Colleen, you're lucky enough to be the first department, if you will, in front of us for our budget process. So if you tune into every other meeting, you're going to probably hear me say the same thing. The mayor presented us the budget on March the 19th, and the budget is a balanced budget, but largely derived pre-pandemic. Put in place was pre-pandemic, assuming the assumptions that we normally would assume. We have different assumptions. People being unemployed, the ability to pay the taxes, the ability to put food on their table, and everybody's going to have to give a little in order to make sure that we don't take from the taxpayer. Follow up on what Councilman Massaro and Councilwoman Hamilton has said. In my mind, 25 employees working at 100% capacity at this point. This is an opportunity for all the employees harmless. You know, you can furlough these employees and they're going to get their full pay by being furloughed. The library could look to save some money and in turn not have to pass those costs on to the taxpayer. So if you have 25 employees, how much is your payroll line? About I think it's like 784,000.
Yeah, I don't have the number right in front of me right now, but no.
So out of those 25, it looks like 24 employees make under $62,500 each. That's really the break-even point for employees if they go on furlough between Connecticut unemployment and the stimulus money. So they would be held harmless. They would be furloughed. They would continue to have their health benefits provided how they're provided as if they were employed. And then you could furlough those. You could always bring them back early, but even if you furlough them for 10 weeks, $139,000. If you furlough them for 6 weeks, that's $81,000. So to me, you know, we need to be wise in how we spend our money because there's going to be holes in this budget at the beginning of the year because of people's ability to pay. I strongly advise you take a look at that because I am up 75,000 that we're holding. You have to vote to approve to give that to you because basically with these steps that you could put in place, you could achieve that savings without having to dip into that $75,000. I think we, the city, need that contingency for issues that may come up in this year's budget with people being with our own budget. So I said that to you tonight. I'm going to say that to others tomorrow and the night after. But this is a different budget now than when the mayor recommended her budget, and we have to do everything we could do to responsible fiduciaries of the taxpayers' money. So I wish you would consider that.
Understood. Like I said, we do have a board meeting next week. We're taking things on a day-by-day basis at this point. So I can say as of today, everyone is employed. I do not know if that will be going forward.
I'm all set, Chairwoman. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything? Okay, I myself have a couple of comments. I'm sorry, kids. Sorry, go ahead,
I just had a question about, the operating budgets for the different ones, which they kind of seem to be all over the place. Why Milford and Meriden have such a lower operating budget than we do?
Because so Milford and Meriden, their utilities and their medical insurance do not come out of their budget. So Milford's total library operating budget is say 1.55 million. That's basically their materials and their staffing, and everything else comes from the city. They're not paying that out of their budget. And that's true for Hampton as well.
Okay.
What's that, Councilwoman? Okay.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so I'm just going to reiterate, Councilman Massaro and the chairman and Councilwoman Hamilton, is that 25 employees going at 100% when the doors are closed, to me, is that we are wasting money. We are absolutely wasting money. We're gonna have a board meeting next week. Well, I think waiting a week is just legitimately, to me, you're telling us, well, you hear us, but you're gonna continue to waste the money. They have the ability to be furloughed and be paid everything that they would be getting if they were to be paid by the library. We are legitimately wasting money, and it is time and time again that we've had these conversations asking you guys to work a little bit more efficiently, work a little bit more, that like you could be saving what was it, Chairman? $80,000. You could be saving $80,000, taking that money and buying stuff that you know we may not be able to give to you next year. But you're going to want us to approve this budget, give you more money, but you guys are not working, in my opinion, any smarter, any leaner, any more like a business. Yes, the library is essential. I have said it 1,000 times. I have some of my best memories in that building. I said it before, it watched me when my mother did not have childcare. It is what happened back then. But I'm looking at it now and thinking, you've got to work better. You don't have the time to wait till next week. I don't know who decides to furlough people, but there needs to be an emergency meeting. You need to have a conference call and say, the city council is asking these difficult questions. I agree with the chairman. I don't believe we should give you a $75,000, because you could have saved $75,000 the last 4 weeks. We are in healthcare. We're having a health crisis, and the library is still spending money as if it's no big deal. And I just, in my opinion, I am flabbergasted. And your response is, well, we're having a board meeting next week. That is not what I had to do in my business. I found out on Friday. I had to furlough people on Monday. My workforce was down 10 people. 10 people. From Friday afternoon to Monday morning, they did not log in. They were furloughed. You're telling us we're going to wait a week. I don't understand that.
Well, like I said, our part-timers normally work much more hours than the current 12 that they were hired for. So we have, like I said, we have cut it. We are taking
hours. How much is that? What's 30 hours times their wage?
Well, you're looking at about $11 an hour.
So you save 30 hours times 11 times 4 weeks. $1,300.
I will take back what you said to the board, and we will discuss it.
I think you should, and I wouldn't wait. I honestly wouldn't wait. I am requesting that we get an update as to what the action plan is. There are benefits out there for your employees. Nobody wants to be furloughed. I mean, I don't think any of the city council people right here, right now, can actually say that jobs are guaranteed, myself included. So, guys, to save money, to get your ducks in a row, and possibly spend money on things that, because the money's there. You can do that. Instead of asking us for more money to do things next year, you could be saving it now. It is truly disappointing. That is all that I have to say. I'm sorry, did you have your hand up? No, okay. Was that your hair going? No, you're good. All right. Maybe it was your hair. So if anybody else has anything else to say, Chairman?
One other question. FY21 budget, does it have any expenses built into it for anything with the Allentown Library building?
No, we, as I hadn't heard anything about what was going on with the building, the budget that I put in did not have anything for that building. So it was keeping things status quo and how things currently are.
So that would mean the city continues to pay the utilities.
Correct.
Councilman, I'm calling.
Yes, thank you. Everyone said the same thing pretty much, regarding our concern about the budget number. And I'm just going to circle back to my original question, which you nicely answered, that I strongly recommend you take this year's budget, you take the status quo and work downwards versus upwards. I know it's a very painful thing to do because I know the people at the library, by and large, are enthusiastic and passionate about their work. But as the chairman has noted, we are headed for tough times, difficult times. And so I would highly recommend you take this year's budget and work it downward to your absolute essentials with some value added. That's my only advice, and I hope that you'll bring that back to your board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Is that anyone else have anything? Okay, so seeing as that we are done for the night, we're going to adjourn, and I will see recess. Yeah, I meant to say that. Recess until tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Eddie, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Recess at 6:54.
Thank you, Colleen.
Good night.
Bye.
Colleen.